Hello, good people. I hope you're fine. Wherever you are, I am the ACCA tutor, Mr. Jeremy Timkulu. In this video, we are continuing from where we left in our previous video. All right, in this microeconomics lecture series. Right. I'm sure you do understand or you do remember that we covered a lot of things so far. We had our introduction to microeconomics, where we discussed about the underpinnings of the microeconomics theory. All right, where we say that it is based on the issues to do with pricing. Okay, the issue of the price. All right, the price as well as the customers or suppliers reactions toward the price and other variables okay, in the market. All right, we also discussed about the 5 M's. Okay, the 5 M's. If you still remember, where we say that the 5 M's represents the input to the macroeconomic environment. Okay, they are the inputs to the macroeconomic environment. And what were they? If you still remember, we say that the first M was materials. All right, followed by money. Okay, materials, these are an example of materials. These are raw materials, okay, or even finished goods which have been procured for the purpose of selling, okay, or materials which need to be processed. There was an issue of money, where we say that money is also an input because it represents the capital required or the finance required for one to undertake a microeconomic activity. Then we discussed about men. Okay, and this men doesn't mean that only men are important in the macroeconomic environment, but we are simply saying human capital. Okay, so men includes women. Okay, men includes women, so we are talking of the human resource as part of the input. We also discussed about the machines. Okay, sorry, just forgive me there. Okay, machines are required as part of the equipment, the plant, or implements for trade. This could be the software. Okay, it doesn't mean that they need to be fixed equipment or fixed property or physical property. It could be some intellectual property, some software, and so forth. All right, then we then talked of the other M, that is management. And when we are talking of management, simply we are not referring to the hierarchy of authority, but we are also referring to people who have got the technical know-how in terms of strategy, okay, in terms of leadership. All right, so that if all these 5 items if they are there, then a sound and meaningful microeconomic activity will take place. All right, we then also moved on to discuss the issues to do with the demand and supply curves. Okay, we discussed about the movement along these curves. Okay, the demand curve and the supply curve, and we said that any movement along the curves simply suggests that there has been some change in the price of the commodity. However, other factors other than the price have got an effect of shifting these demand curves or supply curves either to the right or to the left. All right, so please just check out on the previous videos for more information in this regard. Also to note, we also discussed about the concept of marginal utility. Marginal utility. Okay, the law of diminishing returns. Okay, and also the graph of marginal costs. Okay, and the equation, the profit maximization equation of where at a point where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. We discussed about all this in the previous video. So in this current one, we are now talking a bit about the mathematical aspects involved in this microeconomics theory, but do not get crazy about it. I know a lot of guys, they don't like the mathematical component of all these business subjects, but let me just tell you, there is nothing to get crazy about. There's nothing to begrudge about, because this is actually a simple, these are simple mathematical areas which are involved. Okay, so there's no need to panic. All right, let us go straight to the business of the day. Now, price elasticity of demand. This is our first area of attack. All right, so what are we referring to when we are saying price elasticity of demand? All right, here we are talking of a measure. Okay, this is just a measure, all right, of the change in demand, okay, for a good or service, to a change in its price. Okay, so we can represent price elasticity of demand, okay, as just ED, okay, ED, or in some textbooks, usually the ACCA textbooks, in the ACCA textbooks, we do not write it as AED like that. Let us just use the because this video is actually dedicated to ACCA students, so the examiners prefer it to be written this way. So price elasticity of demand is percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in price. Okay, so we might go pedantic and try to put this in some form of Greek writing. Okay, percentage change in quantity. Okay, quantity demanded. Okay, over percentage change in price. Okay, I think that's been clear. All right, so this is basically what we are talking about. So elasticity on its own is just the responsiveness of a variable to some other factor, okay, which has been applied on it. All right, so price elasticity of demand simply suggests that when demand is elastic, a small change in price produces a large change in the demand. Okay, so a small change, remember the price is the denominator. All right, the price is the denominator in this fraction. Okay, so a small change in the denominator will trigger a large change to the whole quotient. Okay, the whole elasticity. Okay, the whole fraction. The result of this fraction would actually change. So a small change in the price will trigger a large change, okay, in terms of the quantities which are being demanded. Okay, but if the demand is inelastic, which is the opposite, okay, a large change in price produces only a small change in the quantities demanded. All right, so let me just try to write this down. Okay, if demand is elastic, a small change in price, small change in the price triggers a large change in demand, or quantity demanded in demand. Okay, if the demand is inelastic, a small change in price would produce a small change in demand. Please let us get these basic concepts right from the beginning. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so I think we just have to come up with a graph to illustrate first of all what we mean by an elastic demand. Okay, when the demand is elastic. So let us try to present this in a graphical form. Okay, but don't mind the way I draw. I'm not a good artist. Okay, but I'm convinced from this poor drawing you can understand something. All right, so as usual, our vertical axis is the price and the horizontal axis the quantity demanded. Okay, so in this case we are having a demand curve going this way. Okay, that's our demand curve. All right, and there is a price. Let's say our first price of this item. Okay, let us just assume demand is elastic. Okay, the demand is elastic. All right, so our price pi is at this level. So the demand, the quantities demanded are at this level. Okay, so this is, let's say, QA. All right, now if the demand is elastic, all right, if the price goes up to P, let's say PB, then you can see that the quantities demanded would be at this level have fallen. Okay, the quantities demanded have fallen, all right, to QB. All right, there is been a movement. All right, the quantities have reduced. All right, so this actually represents that this demand, there is actually some reaction, but we also have to appreciate that because this commodity has got a demand which is elastic, therefore a small change, as you can see on the graph there, a small change, all right, a small change in the price has triggered a large change in the quantities demanded. All right, let us just say, as you can see, let us call this area, okay, this area, let us shade it out, and we mark it as X. All right, area X versus area Y. Okay, this area, let us call it area Y. Okay, so you can see, let me just try to use a different pen for the labels, these labels. Okay, all right, you can see that area X, okay, area X is smaller than area Y. Okay, so suggestively, a small percentage, a small rise in the price is actually triggered a larger movement. All right, more quantities of Y are now being rejected by a small rise in the price. Okay, so you can see that this product has got an elastic demand. Whenever a change in the price occurs, there is going to be a large change, okay, in the quantities demanded. All right, when we are saying a large change in the quantities demanded, it simply means that even if the quantities have reduced, they've reduced in large numbers, in large quantities. Large quantities are being rejected. Okay, similarly, if the price had gone to, let's say, PC, okay, if the price had dropped, okay, if the price had dropped, you can see that the quantities demanded would be here. Okay, so let's say this is QC. All right, so you can see from this that the area that is now applicable can be shown. Let me just try to change the pen color. Okay, all right, let me use a greener one. Okay, so the applicable shape should be this one. Okay, for the price, and then for the quantities it should be this one. Okay, all right, let us just call this area M, and this one area Q. Okay, you can see also that the small change in the price, area M, is smaller than area Q, which means a small reduction in the price has triggered large quantities of large quantities of the commodity to be to be sold. Okay, so has triggered a large change in the quantities demanded. All right, so when you are talking of a change, we are simply saying that whatever the movement in the price, all this has got an impact on the quantities that are going to be demanded. Okay, whether the price goes up or whether the price goes down, there's going to be some movement. All right, and this is actually the behavior of a normal product. Okay, a normal product. All right, but it doesn't work with all the products. Remember, there are some products which we indicated in our previous videos that even if the price changes, they are going to be affected. Their demand is still going to be the same. All right, but in case of a normal product, this is normally what is going to happen. All right, so that's a depiction of an elastic demand. Let us now move to a situation where what's happening there? I just need some space. All right, let us talk of a situation when the demand is inelastic. I need a red pen, sorry. Okay, demand inelastic. Okay, we can just draw a graph as usual. All right, let us draw a graph as usual. Like I have said or indicated, please do not worry about the way I'm drawing. Some of the graphs will be like skewed, and but I just want to explain the basics of the this subject matter. Okay, just the basics, and the way the chart is appearing mustn't be an issue, but just grasp the basic concept related to the ideas. Okay, so in this case, I've forgotten to mention something. If demand is elastic, okay, usually its price elasticity of demand should be greater than 1. Okay, the price elasticity of demand should be greater than 1. Okay, why is it so? As you can see here, as we have just indicated, even from these points. Okay, we said that PED, okay, PED is the percentage change in quantity, okay, over percentage change in price. Okay, so obviously if the percentage change in quantity is larger and this one smaller, obviously the result of the fraction should be greater than 1. It's greater than 1, obviously. Okay, however the mathematics we can do, if if the numerator is larger than the denominator, obviously the resultant should be the result should be greater than 1. Okay, okay, I hope I have explained there. So in this case, if demand is inelastic, obviously the PED, price elasticity of demand, should be less than 1. Okay, this is less than 1. The numerator is less than the denominator. That's what it simply means. Okay, so graphically, let us draw our demand curve as normal. Okay, and we are having a price that is here, PA. Okay, the PA goes to the demand curve and goes down to QI. Okay, the quantity. And then we have a small shift in the price to PB. So this is what happens. Okay. All right. Now we have got our area X as usual, area Y as usual. So you can see that a small increase of the price, okay, has led to a small rise, okay, has led to, a small change in the quantities demanded, QB. So you can see that there has been, okay, a small rise, small reduction in the quantities demanded. All right. This is because area X is larger than area Y. Okay, area Y, which signifies the change, okay, the change in quantities demanded. So you can see that a small rise in the price, okay, is actually triggered a small, okay, it's actually triggered a small change, which is consistent with our definition, okay, which is consistent with our definition here, that a small change in price would produce a small change in quantities demanded. Okay, I hope that you have understood what we are talking about. Okay, somebody might be worried and say, but it shows that rise was actually a larger, was actually a big rise given this big area. Yes, normally prices, products with inelastic demand are a bit expensive. Okay, they are just a bit expensive, but they are always going to be demanded. All right, but the theory here, or the basics of this theory, is that whatever change that happens to this price, or to the price of this product, it is not going to affect the demand. Okay, for example, we've got products like insulin for diabetic patients. Even if the price rises, you are going to require the insulin, even if you have to make means to ensure that you have bought your insulin if you still want to see another day. So you're going to buy it. All right. So the idea is not actually in how much the price is, but in the change of the price. All right. So when we are talking of inelasticity, we are simply saying that there is actually no change in terms of the demand of the product. I hope that you have been helped. Let us move. Okay, let us move and do some bit of mathematics. All right, we've got price elasticity of demand example. Okay, we've got Mike Manatsa. All right, Mike Manatsa, the petroleum minister of a country, is concerned about the fall in demand for petrol when the price of petrol rises. He finds that when petrol prices rise by 10%, the demand for petrol falls by 5%. Calculate the price elasticity of demand for petrol. Also determine whether the demand for petrol is relatively inelastic or relatively elastic. Alright, so you can just pause the video and attempt this on your own. Okay, let's go together. Alright, we know that price elasticity of demand is the percentage change, okay, in quantity, okay, percentage change. Let's just use the Greek sign, all right, to avoid taking more space. So percentage change, okay, in quantity, percentage change in quantity, okay, demanded, quantity demanded, okay, or divided by percentage change in price. All right, so the percentage change in quantity demanded is a 4 by 5%. So there was negative 5, okay, negative 5 over a rise, okay, a rise in prices of 10. All right, you can just put the percentages if you want, but percent over percent, just the same to cancel one another, so it doesn't matter there, which gives us negative 0.5. This is the price elasticity. All right, okay, usually this is called the absolute value, okay, this is called the absolute value of PED, but it is usually ignored. The operations, the direction of the operations, whether positive or negative, should be ignored. Okay, what matters is are the values. Just have to ignore the operations, whether negative or positive, in your computation. What's important is that it should be the actual, the numbers themselves. Okay, the figures should be either larger than 1 or lower than 1. Okay, all right, because you may be confused when the fraction, let's say you have obtained the answer as minus 1/4, and you start to think that this number, because it's a negative, then it's less than 1, and then you find the wrong answer. Okay, you end up saying that as it is less than 1, therefore the demand is inelastic, when in actual fact it is elastic, because the actual figure, okay, the actual figure here is more than 1. So you need to ignore the operation. Okay, you just have to ignore whether it is positive or negative. All right, I'm sure I've helped a soul. I'm sure I've helped somebody there. Ignore okay, So just ignore the minus sign there. Don't make that mistake. So our PED is equal to 0.5. Okay. Since 0.5 is less than 1, then we can safely say this demand is inelastic according to this. Okay, the demand is inelastic. All right, you can just write something. Okay, since the percentage change in quantity demanded, which is 5%. Okay, percentage change in quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price. Which is 10%. Okay, the demands for petrol is relatively inelastic. So we have answered this part. Let's go to the next example. A finance manager in an organization wants to calculate the elasticity of demand for a product sold by the organization. He digs deep into the records and finds some fascinating data. When the price of the product was $10, the quantity demanded was 100 units. They then increased the price to $12. The quantity demanded showed a huge fall. It fell to 60 units. Calculate the price elasticity of demand for the finance manager. Also determine whether the demand is relatively price elastic or relatively price inelastic. Alright, so that's the information we are given. Once again, you can just pause the video and try to work out the things on your own. Do we have enough space there? Yes, we do have. So let us first determine the percentage changes in either the price or the quantity. So percentage change in price is equal to, alright, let us pick the relevant figures there. The first price is this one, and then the second price is this one. So it has moved from 10 to 12. So the percentage change is determined by say $12 minus $10, okay, or divided by the 10, which is the best yet. Remember, we've moved from 10 to 12. So to find the increase or decrease, we then have to deduct the current price. Deduct the former price from the current price, right? So that's 12 minus 10 divided by 10. All right, and don't forget to multiply by 100. Multiply by 100. All these figures should be multiplied by 100. So for you not to be confused, you can just put these ones first in their own bracket, and then you multiply whatever answer you obtained by 100, because your answer should be in percentages. All right, your answer should be in percentages, which means that there is a $2 over 10, that's 20%. That's the percentage change in price. What about percentage change in quantity? Percentage change in quantity, we do the same. Okay, the initial quantity demanded was 100, but it has fallen to 60, so we just have to do what we did. So the current quantity is now how much? 60 minus the former quantity 100, all divided by 60. Okay, all divided by 100, because the 100 was the original, the initial quantity. You then have to put everything there, you multiply by 100. Okay, and that's, there has been a negative 40 there, so there is a minus 40. All right, minus 40 percent. Okay, there is a minus 40%. Okay, because if you say 60 minus 100, that's minus 40 divided by 100, we get 0.4 multiplied by 100. Yes, that's it. Okay, that's a negative 40 there. All right, then we do our PED computation. All right, then have to do our PD computation. Let us use the following pages. So that's PED, which is equal to percentage change in quantity, percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change and price. So the percentage change in quantity was a negative 40. All right, but remember I said that you need to ignore these, but anyway, then divided by percentage change in quantity, which was 20. So it means that the PET becomes a negative 2. All right, a negative 2 in this case should not confuse us. Okay, this should not confuse us. All right, so just tell yourself that my PED is equal to 2. Okay, and this as this is greater than 1, then the elasticity of demand is higher. Okay, the price, the product, so elasticity of demand is elastic. Okay, the demand, then the demand of the product is elastic. The demand of the product is elastic. Okay, is elastic relatively. Okay, that is it, ladies and gentlemen, and you could also be helped by understanding the issues behind the question. Okay, you can see here as you analyze these, you can see that the percentage change in quantity was actually larger. There was a 40% fall vis-a-vis a 20% rise. So the percentage change in quantity demanded was actually higher. All right, So you could also have said that as the percentage change in quantity demanded was higher than the percentage change in price. The demand for the product is therefore, this is the sign for therefore, is therefore relatively elastic. Thus PED, okay, is greater than 1. Alright, as you can see here. Alright, please do not forget to ignore the minus sign. If your figures are having a minus sign, please do not forget to ignore that. Just ignore the minus sign. Operations do not work in the calculations of this kind. Okay. I think we need to move on. We need to move on and discuss some of these graphs. All right. So that we know. You could be faced with a graph in the exam. Okay. With a graph like this. This is the price as usual. This is the quantity. Okay, but the graph has got a line that goes perpendicular. Okay, that goes perpendicular to the quantity or the quantity axis. Okay, in this case, the price elasticity. Okay, the price elasticity of demand is equal to 0. Okay, why? Because demand is perfectly inelastic and remains constant at any price. At any price. Okay, there is actually no way. I mean, this type of a product is actually no competitor, no alternative, nothing. You need that. All right, you need that. Unless the government intervened, people are going to buy at whatever price. Okay, so but in the real world, such products are actually a rarity. Okay, because politicians won't actually allow that thing to happen. Okay, but economically there are some products which have got demand, which could be considered perfectly inelastic. Okay, so in the exam, please don't be caught unaware. Don't be caught unaware. So that's another graph there. And then there is a graph like this. Let's talk of another graph. Let me use another pen. There is this graph which you can also encounter in your exam. Okay, P, Q. Always get used to these axes. All right. In this case, remember this is a demand curve. Okay, this was a demand curve. All right. So you might also have a demand curve which goes straight parallel to the quantity axis. Okay, that's a demand curve you are going to meet in the exam. In this case, the price elasticity, okay, price elasticity of demand is considered to be unlimited. Okay, it goes to infinity. Okay, the price elasticity of demand is infinite. So the explanation for this graph is that demand is unlimited. Demand is unlimited. Okay, at the price, at the current price. All right, and zero at a higher price. So if you are a supplier, you want to venture into this market, you just have to be prepared that as long as you can charge your price at this level, you are going to get as many customers as possible, and you will just have to worry about your factory capacity to ensure you satisfy everyone. Okay, but if you change the price to go up, you're not going to sell anything. Okay, you're not going to sell anything. So the demand there is just unlimited at that particular price. Okay, then there's what is called unit elastic, where when PED is actually equal to 1. All right. When PED is equal to 1, we call this unit elastic. Okay, it is often called unit elastic. Okay, where a 10% rise in the price is actually going to be linked to a 10% fall in demand. All right. So whatever change that goes to the price, it is also going to affect the demand proportionately. So we can simply say when PD is equal to 1, demand responds proportionally to any change, okay, in price. And total expenditure is constant. Whatever the price. Okay, so this is often called unit elasticity. Okay, that's unit elasticity. Okay, I think I've elaborated a lot of things here. Right. Okay. Yes. Let us just move. Okay. It seems I think there are others who feel we need to explain this point further about unit elasticity. So I do not want to leave you behind. Let me just use this and illustrate what I refer to as unit elasticity. Alright, we say that if there is unit elasticity, the price elasticity of demand is equal to 1. Okay, and This means that demand responds proportionally to any change in price, and total expenditure is constant whatever the price is charged. Okay, whatever the price. So, and we say that we call this whole process unity elasticity. So let me just try to illustrate this using numbers so that nobody is going to be left behind. Okay, so we are having this table. Okay, let us take down this table where we have got a situation, or let me just say a case. All right, and that's in the first column, and we have the price of the item. Okay, price of item or product. All right, and then we have got the demand of the product. Okay, all right, remember this is in dollar sign. Okay, the demand could be in units. Okay, demand could be in units, and then we've got the total expenditure on the item, and this should be in dollars. Okay, this is our table, ladies and gentlemen. I've always qualified myself and say I'm not a good artist, so don't expect me to draw nice graphs. Okay, don't expect me to draw nice graphs. All right, we've got first case, second case, third case, fourth case. Let's end it the fifth case. All right, here we need some calculators around. Okay, now in the first case, all right, let's say the price of the item is $10. Then the price goes to 20, the price goes to 25, the price goes to 40, and the price goes to 50. Okay, now when the price was at $10, the quantities demanded were 100. Okay, 100. But now the price has gone to 20. All right, so in a unitary elasticity environment, or unit elasticity environment, what happens is when the price rises by 100%, automatically the demand of the product is going to be affected by 100%. It's going to fall by 100%. Are we together? All right. So that's normally what is going to happen. All right. Now, okay. Now, gentlemen, I want you to listen very careful here because of the assumption which I want to put across. Okay, let's assume that these commodities are basic commodities, all right, which are essentials to the survival of humanity. Okay, so the consumers do not have the option to just reject the commodities outright. However, they can adjust in terms of their consumption of the commodity. Let's say if they were having 3 meals a day, consumers can adjust, households can adjust to say they now take 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day. All right, so we can't say because the rise in price, for example, from $10 to 20, it's almost like a 100% increase. Okay, that's 100% change here. There is been 100% change. Okay, but we can't say there's going to be 100% fall. It doesn't work like that. Okay, let's assume these are basic commodities. So the reasonable figure we can work out with is just a 50. All right. Of course, we understand that when the demand is is a unit elastic, okay, is unit elastic, then it means there should be a corresponding 4. All right, but you will discover that we can't say for basic commodities there is going to be a 0. All right, some basic commodities for, I mean, usually the basic commodities, they follow the unitary elastic model. However, there is a point at which the consumers have no option. All right, consumers have no option. So in that situation, the 4 here, the 4 can't be said to be 100% 4, because if there is 100% 4, then it means there was no commodity that was going to be accepted or that was going to be available on the market, because the consumers would have rejected it and producers are not going to be motivated to supply it. All right, so there's going to be some chaos in the economy. All right, so what is happening is we have reduced the product demand by 50%. All right, we have reduced the product demand by 50%. But remember, in the unitary elastic, I mean in the unitary elasticity environment, the total expenditure will still remain the same. Okay, so consumers have to adjust in accordance with the uh, the the price. Okay, they have to adjust the quantities they demand of a product in accordance with the rise or fall in the price. Okay, now the product price is rising to 25. All right, so there is being some 5 over 20. That's how many? 5 over 20. That's about 25%. Okay, that means some 25% increase. Now, what would be the 4? What would be the 4 in the price? Okay, so from 25 to 40, this is about how many percentage? How many percent there? That's 25. 40 minus 25. Over 25. This was something like 60%. Okay, and then we have this one, which is almost about 10 over 40, about 25 again. Okay, but like I've emphasized on the demand of the product, this demand should be proportional to the change in price. So I've indicated that, for example, where there was a shift of price from 100% to 20, from $10 to 20, it was a 100% increase, but we can't expect a 100% fall in the commodity demand. So what happens is the proportionality is actually going to be found using this. So for example, for the 50 there, you could have say, okay, let me just work out these, I mean on this side, the workings. All right, so we are saying because the price is moved from 10 to 20, so the price, the quantity demanded should be 10 over 20 multiplied by the previous quantity, okay, of 100, and we should get our 50. All right, so we should get our 50 using this method. All right, and for the third, at the third price of $25, it means the price is moved from 20 to 25, so that's 20 over 25 multiplied by the price of, the quantity, the previous quantity, which was 50, and we should get the quantity demanded of how much? That's 25 to 40. So our third quantity should be 40. All right. For the fourth case, the price was $40, and it had moved from 25. So the proportion should be 25 over 40 multiplied by the previous quantity of 40. So the quantity for at this price, the quantity demanded should be 25. And then on the last case, the 51, the price was 50, so it had moved from 40, so that's 40 over 50 multiplied by the previous quantity of 25, and we should have the quantity of 20. Okay, don't worry for now. I know you're worried. Okay, but remember, we are guided by the statement that demand responds proportionately to any change in price and to the total and total expenditure is constant. Total expenditure is constant. Okay, whatever the price. So whatever the price, the total expenditure should be constant. So now let us work out the total expenditure. Okay, in the first case, the price was $10. Okay, and the demand of the good was 100 units. Okay, demand was 100 units. All right, so the total expenditure in case 1 should be 10 multiplied by 100, and we get a $1,000. Then the total expenditure in case 2, where the price was 20, the demand was 50, and if we multiply 20 by 50, we should get $1,000. Then in the case case 3, the third case there, the price was 25 and the demand for the product was 40, and we should get 1,000. We go to the fourth case where the price is now 40 and the quantity demanded is 25, so we are again going to come to 1,000. The 50 case, the price was 50 and the demand was now 20, so you can see that the price comes again to $1,000 in terms of, the total expenditure comes to $1,000, and we have actually satisfied the dictates of this statement. Okay, so you just have to remember how we have computed the proportions there. All right, I think that is the case there. Okay. Okay, I think you can also confirm this by going the other way around, because a movement from say 20 to 25 here is actually a 25% movement. Moving from 25 to 40 is almost a 60% movement, because we are saying here 40 minus 50, 40 minus 25, you get a 15. 15 divided by 25, you get a 60%. All right. Similarly, from a movement from 20 here to 25, that's 25 minus 20, you get a 5. 5 over 20, you get a at 25%. So similar here, movement from 40 to 50, that's you get 10 over 40, that's 25% again. Here, that's I mean 50 over 50, you get some 100%. Okay, so either way, we are meeting the dictates of the statement. Anyway, please just replay and replay this part until it sunk in your head on the computations which we have been doing so far. And we do not have time. We can have to, we need to move a bit so that we satisfy all our objectives of understanding, but at the same time managing our time properly. All right, so let's move now. Still on price elasticity of demand, we might be asked by the examiner to elaborate on the causes, okay, or on the contributory forces to price elasticity of demand. What actually ignites those changes, or the responsiveness of a product to changes in price, okay, or to whatever change that might happen. What actually influences the price elasticity of demand? What are the factors which affect that responsiveness? Okay, we need to just take down these points there. The first one is actually linked. The first one, the availability of let me just try to erase some of these things. We have already used them. If you want them, you can just replay the video and you watch at your own time. Okay, so let me just call these factors affecting price elasticity of demand. The first one is availability of substitutes. Okay, substitutes are the most influential when it comes to the price elasticity of a product. Okay, so when they are easily available, when the substitutes are easily available, this makes the demand of a product to be more elastic. Okay, to be more elastic. All right, so price rises will lead to substitution. Okay, when the price of a commodity rises and when its substitutes are available at a lower cost, then obviously the elasticity of demand for this product is affected, as customers would rush for the substitute. Okay, that's a good point there. Then let's talk of the time horizon. The time horizon. Now, elasticity is usually low in the short term. Okay, elasticity is usually low in the short term because the product could be new, all right, and there are not many competitors around, so the elasticity would be guaranteed as low in the short term. However, over the longer term, provision of substitutes and awareness of them increases. All right, so after some time, customers or people start to know that there is a substitute somewhere, and then the elasticity of a product starts to increase. Now, the issue of luxury versus necessity. Okay, luxury versus necessity. All right, it also depends on the status of the product, if it is a luxury item or a necessity. Okay, so demand for goods which are necessary for everyday life tends to be relatively inelastic, while demand for luxury goods is elastic. This is why we say that in terms of basic commodities, their demand is actually not going to be elastic because they are a necessity. All right, but when we talk of luxury goods, some of them are have got an elastic demand because customers have got some discretion whether to buy or not. All right, so goods which are habit forming tend to be inelastic. All right, goods which tend to be habit forming tend to be inelastic. For example, cigarettes, they are habit forming commodities. All right, spelling of cigarette, there's a one R there. Okay, cigarettes are habit forming, or alcohol. Okay, or alcohol. All right, uh, these ones can't actually be said to be luxury or necessity goods. They are usually given a name, habit forming goods. Okay, they can't be said to be luxurious goods or necessity, but it's better to just give them their name, habit forming goods. All right, these also um, tend to be inelastic because they form a habit. They become some necessity in their users. Okay, so even if the price is rising, okay, is raised actually, if the price is raised, then they are still going to be bought. The demand is inelastic, can't be changed. All right. The other factor that affects is the income. Okay, the um, income of the consumers. All right, if expenditure on a good only constitutes a small proportion of the consumer's income, then demand for it is likely to be inelastic. Okay, for example, bread. All right, the percentage of expenditure. Okay, the, I mean the significance of the expenditure is actually seen to be very small. All right, it is not much on a person's income. All right, so by that factor, the consumers feel it is not a worrying issue to buy bread because the cost of bread is actually very small. All right, to many of you guys, so it's actually very, very small. So this is why the demand for bread is usually inelastic, because no matter how much the price is raised, it is felt that the cost of bread is insignificant. Okay, the last point I want to put across is the fifth one. Okay, perceptions of the market, or definition of the market. Okay, this one, uh, people would have varying perceptions linked to what or to how they view a particular product. Okay, this is where we see issues to do with the brand taking center stage. Okay, certain brands on the market are actually perceived to be superior than others, so this affects the price elasticity of a particular commodity. All right. For example, demand for a particular brand of bread. Okay, demand for a particular brand of bread will be more elastic than demand for bread overall. Okay, the general demand for bread will be different as compared to a particular brand. All right, so this is where the issue of price elasticity become interesting. Now let us move on to another area called arc elasticity. All right, if we are measuring the responsiveness of demand to a large change in price, we can measure elasticity between 2 points on the demand curve, and the resulting measure is called the arc elasticity of demand. All right, the arc elasticity of demand. And just to take you back a little bit, when we talked of the price elasticity of demand, we didn't explain beforehand that the price and quantity may be values at a point or averages over an arc. All right, so if you still remember when we were drawing our demand curve, it was like this. Okay, it was like this, and this was our demand curve. All right, so when we talked about the price elasticity, it was an issue of movement. Okay, from, let's say, P and Q as our original, and then P1 as our second movement. If you still remember that graph there, you can just reply. All right, and we were computing our price elasticity based on this situation. But now we can go a step further and determine the arc elasticity, okay, which is actually the responsiveness, okay, of the good, okay, or service to between 2 points. All right, so we will have the same graph. All right, we'll have the same graph as you can see there, but we'll be having some points along the demand curve. All right, so let me just try to illustrate this. Okay, let us say we have the same graph as you can see here. All right, and we have got quantity here. Now it's still the same graph, but the movement now, or the distances which are involved, are now a bit larger. Okay, so let's say our first P is having this quantity. Okay, this is our demand curve, and this is our quantity. All right, but the rise in price now is now a large leap. Okay, let's say up to here. All right, P1, and this is our next point. Okay, our next quantity, Q1. All right, so you can see that we had point A initially, but we are now considering point B as well. So arc elasticity is about considering a wider space. All right, we are considering a wider space. All right, so this is why we are having this statement number 2, where we say we calculate the arc elasticity of demand from the percentage change in quantity relative to average quantity for the relevant range of output. This means we include a wider space. We include a wider space, okay, when we are considering the demand curve. We are no longer considering a small leap, okay? We are no longer considering a small rise in price, but in this case, we are considering the wider space, the wider range of prices. All right, and from the percentage price change relative to the average of the corresponding price range, we calculate the arc elasticity of demand from the percentage change in quantity relative to average quantity for the range for the relevant range of output, and from the percentage price change relative to the average of the corresponding price range. So this means that we need to calculate the midpoint for both the quantity and the price. Okay, we need to compute the midpoint for both the quantity and the price. Okay, so that is the midpoint for, to this graph. The midpoint for quantity would be from the original quantity, distance from the original quantity to the new quantity. We need to know the distance, okay, the distance between the two, and we get the midpoint. So which means that for quantity, we will say the midpoint would be Q1 minus Q0, or original Q, okay, or just say Q0 minus Q1, all right, the original Q minus the new Q, all right, and all divided by 2. We then come to the price and do the same. That is P0 minus P1, okay, all divided by 2. All right, that's how we are going to do it. Now, if we wish to measure the responsiveness of demand at one particular point in the demand curve, we can calculate a point elasticity of demand without averaging price and quantity over a range. In doing so, it is convenient to assume that the demand curve is a straight line unless told otherwise. All right, so I think we just need to go straight to the examples to see what is going on. All right, so let us go straight to an example and see how we can go about it. Okay, the price of a good is $20 per unit and annual demand is 800,000 units. Market research indicates that an increase in price of 10 cents per unit will result in a fall in annual demand of 70,000 units. Okay, that's information we are given there. Right, this is just a typo. All right, it should be 730,000. Okay, what is the price elasticity of demand, measuring the responsiveness of demand over this range of prices? So when you are given a range of prices, obviously you are asked to calculate the arc elasticity of demand. All right, so we can just go systematic by just putting the variables in the question. So annual demand at $20. That's $20 per unit. Unit is how much? 800,000 units. What about annual demands at when a 10 cents has been added, so that is at $30 per unit is 730,000 units. Okay, so we need to calculate the averages in terms of quantity and in terms of price. So let's start with the quantity, all right, or the midpoint, all right. All right, so average quantity is equal to 800,000 plus 730,000 divided by 2, and we should get about 765,000 units. Then average price is equal to $20 plus $30 divided by 2. All right, and we should get do I have space ahead? Let me just check. Oh, there's no space. All right, so we should have our $25 as the midpoint, as the average. Okay, so what about the percentage change in price and percentage change in quantity? All right, so percentage change in quantity demanded. Let me just use another pen here. Okay, percentage change in quantity demanded is equal to all right, all right, so the movement now from 800 to 730 is actually 70. Okay, so it's actually 70,000, right? So that's 70,000 divided by the average. Okay, 70,000 divided by the average of 765,000. Okay, so this should give us, remember, you have to multiply by 100. Multiply by 100 because the answer should be a percentage. So that's, we have, according to calculators, we should have 915%. So the percentage change in quantity is 915. What about the percentage change in price? Okay, we have seen, or we have been told, that there has been an increase in 10 cents. Okay, an increase in 10 cents. So that's a 10 over our, we have just computed it as our midpoint here. The midpoint is 125. That's our midpoint, ladies and gentlemen. So that's 125. All right, 125. Don't put a comma. Okay, there's no comma there. That's 125. All right, because the moment you put a comma, it means your numerator should also be in commas, which means it should be 0.1. Okay, over 1.25. But if there are no commas, then put a 10 cent and 125 cents, like and like. All right, don't forget to multiply by 100 because the answer should be in percentages. All right, so what we get, we should get an 8%. So the percentage change should be 8%. Okay, after you do that, you then have to calculate the price elasticity of demand. All right, so price elasticity of demand should be the percentage change. Okay, the percentage change in quantity demanded, which we've determined here, divided by this one. So that's 915 over 8. All right, 915 over 8, and this should give us a 1.14. Okay, so that's our PED. All right, so this means that the arc elasticity of demand, is equal to 1.14. All right, I hope there we have been clear. All right, we can take another example to ensure we have understood everything required. The price of a good is $20. All right, the price of a good is $20 per unit. Okay, price of a good is $20 per unit, and demand is 800,000. Oh, this is what we've just calculated. All right. Okay, but let us just have a go at it, because the question requirement is a bit different. Okay, remember we had calculated for a range of values, but in this case we are required to calculate at a point. Okay, at a particular point. So we need to determine the elasticity of demand at a point along the demand curve. So this is more like the ordinary price elasticity of demand we have been calculating all along before we reach the point for arc elasticity. So we just have to do the same thing here. We are given the information. All right, and the main assumption here is that the demand curve we are talking about is just a straight line, the normal demand curve we have been drawing so far. All right, so let's first calculate the percentage change in quantity demanded. Okay, percentage change in quantity demanded. We are told that at this particular price the demand is 800,000. However, the market research indicates that any increase, of 10 cents per unit would result in the reduction of 70,000 units. So the percentage change in quantity is equal to 70,000 units over 800,000 units multiplied by 100, and we should get some figure there using our calculators, and that is 8.75%. What about the percentage change in price? Okay, we are told that a 10% increase, obviously, so the 10 should be used there. All right, from 120, we are given the 120 there, so that's our price. So it means we should have remember this is a fall, okay, and this one is a rise. Okay, so we have, but like I've always indicated, do not make your mind, or do not deceive your mind by thinking that the negative operational sign is going to have some bearing. You just have to ignore when it comes to deciding if the demand is elastic or inelastic. You just have to remove the minus sign. All right, because it will confuse you. All right, so given this, it means that the price elasticity of demand which is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded of 8.75% divided by the percentage change in price of 8.33%. So we are going to have a negative 1.05. If you had put a negative sign here, it means you are going to get a negative figure. So that one, don't put the negative, don't allow it to confuse your judgment. So our PED there is 1.05. This means that this is larger than 1, so the demand is elastic. Therefore, demand is elastic. If you put a negative sign there, you would be fooled to think that the PED is less than 1 and you end up choosing the wrong choice. Always avoid that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I think we have done everything there that should be done. All right. Let's have a go at one arc elasticity example. I want you guys to attempt on your own, and just have to pause the video and then you attempt on your own. All right, let's take down this question. Do I have the question here? All right, yes, the question is here. Somebody was saying, hey man, just do that one for us so that we are comfortable. All right, there is that question, ladies and gentlemen, for the point elasticity of demand. All right, if the price per unit of X rises from $40 to $60, it is expected that monthly demand will fall from 220,000 units to 200,000 units. What is the price elasticity? What is the point price elasticity of demand when the price is $40? Okay, so once again, we just have to assume that the demand curve is a straight line. So at point, okay, why am I emphasizing that the demand curve is a straight line? In actual fact, or in real life, the demand curve usually follow this behavior. Okay, that's in reality. Okay, remember our first video when we were plotting items on the demand curve. You saw a graph like this in our first video in this series. That is the first video part A. Okay, was having a graph like this. So in actual fact, the demand curve follows the behavior of line X. If you still remember our line X graph at O level, which was something that is curved. Okay, all right, so that's in reality. However, let us just assume that the demand curve in this case is linear, is a straight line. Okay, now at a price of $40, the demand is how much? From the question, the demand is 220. Okay, demand is 220,000 units. Okay, but for a price of 20 cents more, okay, something will happen. All right, if we increase from $40, something would happen. All right, so let us determine the percentage change. All right, because if we increase price from $40 to $60, that's a 20 cents increase, isn't it? Yes, that's a 20 cents increase. All right, and this means that the demand will fall. This will fall to 200,000 units. So the percentage change, right, when a rise occurs, when a rise occurs, when a rise occurs, percentage change in quantity will be the movement from 220,000 to 200,000. That's a 20,004. Okay, there's a 20,004 there, divided by 220,000, the former or the initial quantities. All right, multiply by 100. This means that we are going to have about, let's punch our calculators, we're going to have about 9.09%. Okay, this is a 4, of course. All right, but the use of negative operations usually confuse students, so that is why I'm ignoring those ones. All right, but just know it's just a 4. All right, then percentage change in price. Now, okay, we are saying that there is an increase of 20 cents, so that's a 20 all divided by the percentage, I mean the original price. Okay, the original price of $40, which is 140 cents. Okay, remember these are cents. All right, we then have to multiply by 100 because our answer should be in percentages, and if we punch these figures in the calculator, we should get a 14.29%. All right, when you do this, you then have to calculate the price elasticity of demand, the PED, which is the percentage change in quantity. All right, this figure 9.09%, all divided by this figure 14.29%, and you get the figure as 0.64. Is the demand elastic or inelastic? We say that if it is less than 1, then if the PD is less than 1, then demand is inelastic. So inelastic is one word. It's not elastic. So that's inelastic. All right. Demand is inelastic. Okay. Now, range of elasticity. There, when we talk of the range of elasticity, we are considering the issue of arc elasticity. All right, but I wanted to do one more example on the arc elasticity to ensure we are home and dry. All right, to ensure we are home and dry with this issue. All right. Right. Sorry. Let me just take you back a bit. I'm looking for a certain question. Yes, I think this is the question. Yeah, I think this is the question. All right. Because if I do not do this, my students will struggle. All right. So I don't want you guys to struggle with these microeconomics basics. So All right, let us take this example. If the price per unit of X rises from $40 to $60, it is expected that monthly demand will fall from 220,000 units to 200,000 units. What is the arc price elasticity of demand over these ranges of price and output? Remember, we have done this particular question, but for a point. Okay, for a point. For a point, we have done this. Okay, at a particular point, at a particular price. All right, but we are now doing it for a range of prices. All right, so this is why I was actually troubled that I need another example so that you guys would be comfortable whenever you start to think about this. When you face a question in the exam, you remember that there was this old man who led us into the right path. All right, so that's how we do it. So what you just have to do, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, you just have to subscribe, to share these videos with your peers, to ensure that everyone is helped, and by so doing I will also be known, and we are both in business. Okay, that is it, ladies and gentlemen, and that is it. All right, so that's our information we have been given there, and we just have to be very systematic as we attack these questions. We are told that the monthly demand will fall from 220,000 to 200,000 if the price rises from $40 to $60. So let us just write down the variables. Monthly demand at $40 is equal to 220,000 units. So at $40 per unit, remember. Then at $60, the demand is equal to 200,000 units. Okay, so that's what happens. All right, that's what happened. Now, because we are calculating arc elasticity, all right, you just have to remember the issue of midpoints. Okay, the issue of midpoint we have already highlighted. So we need, midpoints are just like averages. So we need to determine the averages in terms of quantities demanded. So average quantity demanded is equal to 220 plus 200,000 all divided by 2, and we should get our 210. Remember, 220 plus 200, that's 420 divided by 2, that's 210. So 210 units. Then average price is equal to $40. Let's say $60. Okay, $60 plus $40 all divided by 2. Okay, this $60 plus $40, that's $3. So $3 divided by 2, that's $50. So the average is $50. Now let's then determine the percentage change in demand. Percentage change in demand. What's going on? What's happening with my pen? Right? Percentage change in demand is equal to we have moved from 220 to 200,000. So that's a 20,004 divided by the this time we are not going to use those given figures, but the one which we have computed, the average. Remember, we are calculating arc elasticity, so we are using the average quantity here, which is 210,000, which means that we are going to get okay, we're going to get, remember here, we just have to multiply by the 100 for percentages. Some examiners might be irritated if you do not put that 100. They might be irritated. Examiners, just have to be very careful with them. When they get irritated, they give you a 0. Even if you you put some effort, they will just give you some 0. Yeah. So I do not want my students to be given a 0 when I was there. Okay, remember also that you need to calculate the percentage change in price. Okay, the percentage change in price, there was an uplift of price from $40 to $60, so there was a movement of 20 cents over the average. We are working with the average now. This is 150. Okay, multiply by 100 and you should get your 13.33%. After you do this, you then have to move a step further. You move a step further and compute the arc price elasticity. Arc price elasticity of demand. Alright, and you just have to slot in the figures. We have just computed the 952 divided by the 13 point. So 952% divided by the 13.33%, and we get our 0.71%. Now the question the examiner would give you is price elastic or inelastic? Alright, if PED is less than 1, therefore demand, I'm sorry of the background noise. Those are my kids, I to attend to them, so sorry. Sometimes the attention is driven there as I'll be doing the recording, but anyway, I hope you are being helped as well. Okay, so in this case, demand is inelastic because our PD is less than 1. When the PD is greater than 1, then we are having an elastic demand. Alright, that is the case. Let us see if there is still an example that has not been attended to. Alright, there is this last example, ladies and gentlemen, which normally comes in your paper. Okay, that's the model questioning, where you'll be given some multiple choice questions. You just have to get used to them. So a shop sells 100 shades, each month at a price of $20. When the price is increased to $24, the total sales revenue rises by 14%. Within which range does the price elasticity of demand lie? So we are given the information there, so we just have to be led by the principle. Alright, so price elasticity of demand using the the arc or the point method. Remember, you're being given to select some range. Okay, so it is actually very advisable. It is advisable that you have to use both methods, either the point method or the arc method. All right, so let's start with the point method. So using the point method, okay, let's just say PED using the point method. All right, if you're using the point method, we are told that a shop sells 100 shares each month at a price of $20. All right, now when the price is increased to $24, the total sales revenue rise by 14%. Within which range? That's the question. Okay, so we are having two methods, the point method as well as the arc method. But before we go to this method, we need to answer a few things here. All right, the information is actually a bit hidden. We need to extract certain facts so that we know how to proceed. All right, so let us first determine the total revenue that is made at the original price. Okay, so let me use another pen, a bit different pen. All right, let me use the red pen. Okay, so at let's say at $20 per t-shirt, we sell 100. So the total revenue, so let me just say total revenue at $20 multiplied by 100, that's $2,000. Okay, this is our total revenue. All right, and then what about what's the total the total revenue at $24? We are told in the question that when the price is increased to $24, the total sales revenue will rise by 14%. So this means that total revenue would be $2,000 here. This $2,000 multiplied by 1.14. Why? Because there is an increase of 14%. So that's 1.14, which becomes, if we punch in our calculator, it becomes 2,800. Okay, so can we see that there is a change in the demand? Okay, of course, the price, if it is increased, obviously we should expect some fall in the quantities demanded. All right, we used to sell 100 t-shirts, but now how many are we now selling? Okay, so the number of t-shirts sold, number of t-shirts sold should be equal to 2,800. Okay, should be equal to 2,800. All right, somebody saying, hey man, your calculator there, punch your figures very well. 2,000 multiplied by 1.14 is not 2,800. Okay, yes, it's not 2,800. Let me just try. This is not 2,800. All right, it should be 2,280. All right, I'm sorry there, 2,280, but it wasn't an issue. The issue should be the concept. All right, so that's 2,280. divided by the price per t-shirt. The price per t-shirt is $24. Okay, the new price per t-shirt is now $24. So if we divide 2,280 by $24, we should get a 95. So the number of t-shirts sold now at this price is 95. So at this level, ladies and gentlemen, you're expected to show some little bit of mathematical knowledge or background. All right, so you just have to improve on your numerical capabilities. All right, now we have got these figures, we can safely proceed to our methods. So let us now start with the point method. Okay, the point method. It's just the same method we have been using, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to get more pedantic with you. I'm just doing the things we have been doing so far. All right, so the pen method, for the point method, we just have to use the same information. Okay, so the percentage change in quantity, all right, or the quantities, the change in quantities demanded, you can see that we have moved from the original 100 to 95. So there was a 5% fall, so that's 5 over the original 100, okay, multiply by 100, all divided by the percentage change in price. Okay, price moved from 20 to 24, so there was 4 over 20 multiplied by 100. Okay, and all these should give us the 5 on top, and divided by 5, so that's divided by 20 below. Remember, these are in percentages. Okay, so automatically we are going to have a 0.25. all right, we are going to have a 0.25 as our PED using the point method. What about if we use the arc method? Using the arc method. Okay, if we use the arc method, the PED is found as follows. Okay, the percentage change, all right, the percentage change in quantity, all right. Okay, the percentage change in quantity, we moved from 100 to 95 t-shirts being sold, so there was a 5. Okay, there was a 5 as usual, but divided by the midpoint of quantities. All right, the midpoint here should be 100 t-shirts minus plus 95, 100 plus 95 over 2. Okay, over 2, and this should give us 195 divided by 2. That should give us about 97.5, 97 and a half. Okay, 97 and a half. All right, so 97 and a half, or 97.5, whichever way you wish. All right, all multiplied by 100. Remember, this is a percentage. Okay, and then we do the price. The change in price was a 4. Okay, remember, the change in price was a 4, and then 4 divided by the average price. The average price is given by 20 plus 24. Okay, 20 plus 24 all over 2, and that's 48 over 2. We should 44 over 2. We should get some 22. So That's 22 multiplied by 100. So if we solve top there, we should get our 5.13 on top, 5.13%, or over here in 4 over 22 multiplied by 100. This should give us our 18.2%. And when we solve further, we should get a 0.28. So, within which range does the price elasticity of demand lie? Okay, is it under 0.15? Obviously not, because even when we are using the point method, it was 0.25, which is higher than option A. So option A has been ruled out. This is wrong. Okay, what about option B? It is greater than 0.15 and less than 0.5. Yes, you can see that this one is larger than 0.15 and this again is larger than 0.15 but lower than 0.5. So this one could be the potential answer. Let's go to the next one. It is greater than 0.5. Obviously, this one is out. It is not greater than 0.5. Then greater than 1. Obviously, this one again is not, because the points, using the point method and the arc method, they are not greater than 1. So you can see that our answer is B. Alright, I hope that you have been helped accordingly. Alright, so let us just discuss a few items which I feel you need to know before we call it a day. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there is one concept, one or two concepts which I want you guys to know. Alright, the first one is income elasticity of demand, IED. Okay, now this one is very important, ladies and gentlemen, because it actually affects a lot of us. So what is income elasticity of demand? This is a measure. Okay, this is a measure. Okay, this is a measure, right? This is a measure of the change, okay, of the change in demand for a good or service, okay, in response to a change in household income, the change in household income. Remember, from our important terminologies part of the first video, we said that those who buy are called households. Okay, the consumers are called households in economics, but firms, okay, those ones who supply are called firms. They are firms. All right. So when there is a change, income elasticity of demand is actually a measure of the change in demand, okay, for a good or service in response to a change in household income. So demand for normal goods, okay, increases as household income rises. But what if the demand of the good does not rise? Okay, what if the demand for a good does not rise when the income rises. In this situation, we call that good inferior good, an inferior good. Okay? This could be called an inferior good. Okay? Because its demand falls when the household income rises. All right. So the inferior good tend to be neglected even if we have got a lot of money. All right. Tend to be neglected. All right. That's it for inferior goods. So how is the IED, the income elasticity of demand, calculated? This is given by the percentage change, okay, in quantity demanded vis-a-vis income. Divided by the percentage change in income, in household income. All right. So the demand for a good is income elastic. Demand for a good or service is income inelastic. Okay, if its income elasticity of demand is greater than 1. So we are still following the same PED principle. All right, but it is income income elastic here. All right, the demand for a good is income elastic if its IED is greater than 1, but it is income inelastic if its IED is less than 1. Okay, so you can see in this case that inferior goods tend to have a negative income elasticity of demand. Okay, so unlike in the situation where we have got the PED, where the PED was always supposed to be interpreted in its positive format, the other elasticities of demands are usually presented with their operations, okay, in the status of their operations. If it is a negative, it should be reported as such. Okay, that is the case. However, the interpretation still remains the same. All right, the interpretation still remains the same. All right. What about a situation where we have got we need to measure the change in demand for a good in response to a change of price in another good or of another good. Okay, in that situation we call the process cross elasticity of demand. Okay, cross elasticity of demand. Let me just try to write a few notes about cross elasticity of demand. All right, allow me to erase these facts, ladies and gentlemen. You can just replay the video. This video is yours. Okay, you just have to do with whatever you want with it. It's yours. Okay, as long as it is for you to pass your exam or to know to enhance your knowledge, then you are free to use it. Okay, that's cross elasticity of demand. Cross elasticity of demand, ladies and gentlemen, is a measure. Okay, is a measure of the change in demand for a good or service in response to a change in the price of another good or service. Okay. All right. So CD is given by a percentage change in quantity demanded of good A over a percentage change in price of good B. Okay, so if CED is positive, if it is positive, the goods are substitutes. Okay, for example, a 4 in B price, the 4 in B's price will cause a 4 in demand for A. That's the thing there. All right, that's the thing. Then if cross elasticity of demand is negative, okay, the goods are complements, or they are complementary. They are complementary. For example, a 4 and the price of B will cause a rise in demand for A. Okay, that is the issue, ladies and gentlemen. So I just wanted to highlight these facts so that you are home and safe when it comes to other forms of elasticity of demand other than the price. Okay, so in all these other forms, the operational sign, whether positive or negative, matters. Okay, it matters. When it is negative, it means something. When it is positive, it also means something. Okay, so but in most cases, the principles of the PED would be observed. All right, so it's still the change in quantity over the change in price. I mean, all these all their formulas would follow the same principle. All right, but you just have to be very careful when it comes to the direction of the operational sign. All right, I think let me just try to look for an example to illustrate this issue of cross elasticity. All right, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking of cross elasticity of demand. All right, and it's one of the further concepts related to the elasticity of demand. So let us just consider this example where we are saying that let's consider two products. Sorry, my pen is misbehaving. Sorry. Let's consider two products. Okay, let's consider two products. A pen. Don't know what's happening with this pen of mine. Okay, let's consider two products. Coffee and tea. All right. If there is an increase in the price of tea by 10%, say 10%, okay, and the quantity demanded of coffee increases by 2%. What should be the CED? What should be the cross elasticity of demand in this case? What should be the cross elasticity of demand? And I'm sure you still remember the formula I gave you, right, where it says that CED should be percentage change in quantity demanded of good A divided by percentage, sorry, oh, my division sign is now crossing over. I'm sorry. Okay, man, where's the pen now? This pen of mine is like tired. Okay, feels like tired. All right, divided by a percentage change in price of good B. Okay, so there's been a change in the demand for coffee by 2%, and when there was a price increase of tea by 10%. So the CED obviously would be the percentage change in quantity of coffee, which is 2%, divided by the percentage change in price of tea, which is 10%. So we are going to have a positive because they are both increases. Okay, we are witnessing two increases. There's been an increase in the price of tea, okay, of 10%, which is a positive 10, and this triggered an increase in the demand for coffee of 2%. So they are both positive, and we are having a positive 0.2. All right, 0.2. All right. So in brief, substitute goods will have a positive cross elasticity of demand in general because they are substitutes. So if one of the items has got its price increased, all right, that will trigger the demand, a positive rise in the demand of the substitute. All right, but complement goods will have a negative cross elasticity of demand. All right, but what about unrelated goods? Goods which are unrelated. Let's say there is a 10% rise of tea. How much? What would be the cross elasticity when compared to the price of petrol or the quantity demanded of petrol? If the price of tea increases, will that have some relationship with the demand for petrol? Okay, so unrelated goods will have a cross elasticity of demand of, can somebody guess? Of 0. Okay, the cross elasticity of demand in that situation would be 0. Okay, the price of apples has no effect on the demand for Apple computers. Hello, the demand for the apple fruit has no impact or effect on the demand for Apple computers. Let me just write this down so that you guys won't be confused on exam day. Okay, all right. In case of unrelated goods, okay, the CED is 0. For example, the price of apples has no impact on the demand for Apple computers, despite having some names which are almost similar. Remember the concept of consumer rationality. We talked rationality in our first video to microeconomics, where we say that consumers are people with brains. Okay, they are people with brains. They don't just fall for something because the name rhymes or the names sound similar. Here they have got their brains. Okay, so this is why we are having the cross elasticity of demand on items which are not related being 0. Okay, let us try to wind up our chapter, ladies and gentlemen, because we have consumed a lot of time trying to explaining things out. Okay, I think what is left now is just one example, then we call it a day, and then we have to talk of issues to do with price elasticity of supply in the next video, because this one has consumed a lot of time. Okay, we'll talk of the issues to do with price elasticity of supply in the next video. So let me just try to take you somewhere, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude our lecture on the demand. Okay, on demand issues. All right. What do you think? Okay, what do you think might be the demand for swimming pools? Okay, amongst a population of 5 households, right? What you think? Okay, what do you think should be the demand of swimming pools? Swimming pools, okay, among a population of 5 households enjoying the following annual incomes. Okay, the following annual incomes. All right. With a total annual income, the total of 1 million. Okay. We've got assumption 1, assumption 2. The assumption is linked to the distribution of this income. Okay. For the assumption 1, assumption 2, and we've got household number 1, which earns about, let me put dollar signs here. Household 1 earns an income of 950,000 per year. Okay. Then household 2 earns an income of 12,500 per year. Household 3 earns 12,500. Household number 4 earns 12,500. Household number 5 earns 12,500. Then we have got assumption 2, whose distribution is like 200,000. So each household earns 200,000. 200,000. Excuse me. 200,000. Number 5, 200,000. So, what do you think might be the demand for swimming pools in this given situation? Which household do you think is likely to demand swimming pools? Under assumption 1, obviously, the first household, this one, is likely to demand a swimming pool. Swimming pool is considered a luxurious good, okay, and only for those who have got the money. And we do not expect these households to demand a swimming pool. All right, but under assumption 2, obviously, each household is likely to demand a swimming pool as they can afford in that category. All right. I just wanted to just give you this question as an aid to your learning, okay, because it has got some bearing when it comes to issues to do with incomes, all right, and how consumers react in relation to their circumstances as well as in relation to the market. All right, I hope, ladies and gentlemen, we have done justice so far to the issues linked to the elasticity of demand and the relevant computations which were a precursor to our lecture. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I hope we just have to meet in the coming video where we'll be concluding everything related to microeconomics. All right, and we are done. So we are just left with just a short video, okay, just to conclude, because we need to touch on aspects to do with the price elasticity of supply and factors which affect it. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, may the good Lord continue to bless you in all abundance. All right, thank you very much. If you feel you need more coaching, more help on your ACCA studies, or be they university studies and other form of accounting and finance studies, please feel free to contact us. Okay, those are my numbers. Or you can just send an email to transcarolx@gmail.com, and we are going to attend you within 24 hours. We'll be back to you. Okay, we are always online. Thank you very much. This is your guy, Jarum Chipkul, signing out.